Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. Now, before I introduce today's show and our expert guest, I have a quick question for you. If you've been wondering how well you are aging, well, I've got the solution for you. You can go to our main website, agelesslivinglifestyle.com, take our free aging assessment. And if you don't like the results, you can book a free call with me and we'll discuss what challenges you're having. And I'll give you some quick and easy tips and solutions that get you going on the right track. All right. So today's show, I'm really excited about because this is one we haven't really touched on much, and it's such an important one. The title of today's show is Dementia is 100% Preventable. 100% preventable. And our expert guest is Dr. Brad Montagna. He is a passionate caregiver with a deep tool chest of decades of research, studies, and clinical applications of functional medicine in restoring health to those with chronic illnesses. It is common for him to be able to give people their life back that no other caregivers have been able to help. And I also want to add to it, his compassionate understanding comes from years of his own struggles with chronic illness, and the Lord giving him the tools to help him and others get free from the prison of ongoing sickness. So, Dr. Brad Montagna, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Oh,
I'm been looking forward to this talk. This can be
oh,
fun.
yeah, it is really fun how we can get some great information to help people to help, like you say, turn their life around. Well, let's begin just real briefly. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you said you had some chronic illnesses, so tell us how you really got got passionate about learning all about the how to heal how to heal the
Um,
body.
it- I was 5 years old in the middle of the night when I was taken into the hospital. First time, gut wrenching pain, but the reason why people get there, it differs. But this experience is so common with everybody with chronic illness. I'm in the hospital. I'm 5 years old. I got no explanation of what's going on, no reason why it's there. Just do this, and it'll calm it down and go away. And that was first of many visits. After that, I my oldest brother came home with strep throat. That ran through the house. Bunch of rounds of antibiotics got me full of fungal infections.
Mhm.
Um, that is one of the foundational things that builds poor health. It just destroys the health. That went through later on in life. I got Lyme disease. No one, no doctor, no natural doctor, no medical doctor could ever tell me what was going on. I had to figure all that out myself. I started cooking when I was a young kid to
Uh,
manage my own lifestyle because I had vertigo so bad the whole world spun around me every time I turned.
wow.
My car sickness and motion sickness out in the ocean, on a boat or something like that was just over the top. And I had to learn to cook differently than the rest of my family ate at 5 years old so that my head stayed on straight so I could stay on my feet. And it just blossomed from there.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So then did you go? What kind of education did you get then?
Well, it's interesting because I hated school. I absolutely hated school. I cut more school than anybody I know that graduated. I got out of high school in 3 years, and if I wouldn't have done that, I probably never would have graduated.
Mhm.
But I got out of high school. I never want to see school again. I hated it. Got into construction. Was 17 years old, and I started running crews. 19 years old, I got farmed out to a union company. The union audited their books, and the boss came and asked if I could do them a favor. The union found me, wondering if I go down and take my journeyman's test. I'm 19 years old. Most people start their school at 18. Takes 4 years of their school, all their books. I never looked at any book, just all my work experience. I walked in, took the journeyman's test, walked out with my journeyman's card, kept running crews, and down the road, the Lord got a hold of me through some wild circumstances, I started jumping out airplanes with a friend of mine. And we go out and close the bars down, show up in the morning still drunk from the night before. You can't jump out airplanes.
Well, Brad, tell us about your health education. That's what we want to know.
Yeah. Well, Lord got a hold of me. He told me to quit work and go to school.
Okay.
And it was in that process that he showed me what he wanted me to do. And it slowly developed into what I do now. The There's not one university system with a graduate program that teaches anyone how to deal with chronic illness.
Hmm.
And that's been something that I've studied my own research. I'm kind of a research nut. I'm a physiology nut too. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I like to know how things work. And the only way you know how the body works is study physiology. So I've been studying physiology for over 40 years, doing my own research for 40 years, and in the functional medicine postgraduate continuing education for close to 40 years with clinical application of that. So I'm kind of unique. Not many people around that long within this kind of an industry. And my mind's still sharp, it's still bright, and we're doing things that no one else can do.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I know you work with all different kind of chronic illnesses, help people in a lot of different things. But today we really want to focus on dementia, and I like how you say dementia is 100% preventable. So first of all, how about give us your definition of dementia, and then talk about some of the root causes.
Well, dementia is where you start to lose cognitive ability, processing, ability to communicate, ability to reason. And there's all kinds of stages of that, but progressively, first we start to lose our short term memory, ends up later, and we lose our long term memory. And I remember I went to go visit my dad when he's late stage Alzheimer's, and he asked my mom, "So, Sally, who is this nice young man that our daughter brought home to visit?"
Yeah.
I had no idea who I was,
Mhm.
and that it's so sad to watch that, but that's, as I said, it's 100% avoidable if we understand the basic issues of what's going on. So if we look at the brain, it's way more complex than the most complex computer system in the world.
Mhm.
It's huge. The amount of nerve cells in our brain is equal to the amount of trees in the Amazon forest. And every one of those cells can have up to 10,000 connections. The amount of connections is like the amount of leaves on the trees in the Amazon forest.
Wow.
It's nuts. There's times in fetal development when you're developing 250,000 nerve cells a minute. And that's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And if we look at a brain, its consistency is very much like yogurt before you stir it. If you open up a can, you got this thing that's kind of like jello, and you can shake it around, it'll wiggle, it'll stay kind of sort of intact. But if you shake it really hard, it turns to liquid.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what happens when we get concussion, brain injuries, and things like that, is that the brain gets rattled so much that that gelatinous thing tears. It creates all kinds of tears in it and gets more liquid. So when we look at what makes the brain, it's 60% water.
Mhm.
After the water, it's 60% oils. Of those oils, is 60%, should be 60% of the fish oils. When you start, and if we break that down into different things, there's all these communication pathways called tracks. And it's like if you took a bundle of communication wires and you stretch them across some long distance. That used to be, if you saw the old switchboard operators with
Mhm.
all these wires and
Yeah.
place to plug them in and all that.
Mhm.
The brain's kind of like that with all these tracks. And then you got clusters of nerves where you get all this communication. Then that communication goes to some different thing, different place where we can get the discernment of our what our eyes see, what our ears hear, our sense in space, our ability to coordinate and move, control all of our organ functions and all that. All that runs on these tracks that go everywhere. And those tracks are made of these little fine filaments of nerve fiber called axons and dendrites.
Mm-hmm.
Those axons and dendrites, they have a coating around them to insulate it's all electrical conduction that goes down these tracks. And wherever there's a junction, it's called a synapse, there's a space that separates the electrical current from coming down. And the current comes down, it releases what's called a neurotransmitter in that space. It goes to the other side. If there's enough, it connects and it makes a pulse go down the next fiber to the next station. And there can be several of those synapses going on in there. But the insulation around all these tracks is called myelin.
Mm-hmm.
And that myelin is all cholesterol. It's pretty much the consistency of butter at room temperature. It's
Mm-hmm.
really, really soft. And the things that start to break down our cognitive function, first and foremost, is water. Our body's about 73 to 75% water. At 1% dehydration, we start to get all the signs of dementia.
Mm.
So that's not much. You go from 75 to 74% water, and your brain doesn't function right.
Wow. Wow.
And
So
people,
let me just ask you right there. Do you think most people that do begin to have dementia are they dehydrated? Is that one of the big factors?
we've got actually, I'll list what the factors are, and we'll talk about what
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
one of those does.
Yeah.
So the easiest factor to deal with is dehydration.
Okay.
Our water supply, if you're in a city, is toxic. All the minerals in water, we cannot absorb them at all. We can only absorb the kind of minerals that plants make. They chelate those minerals into functional absorbable forms that we can absorb. And that's all we can absorb. If there's crystals, if they're rock form, we can't absorb those at all. And
Right.
those are just kind of waste in the water, and they take the energy out of the water. Plus they got toxins in the water and things like that. So if you're in a city situation, you need a good filtration system. The best water filtration systems out there, Aquasan is a whole house. All the independent studies prove it is the top one. It's one of the cheapest, easiest to use. Each one of their big canisters will filter like 600,000 gallons before you
Okay.
need to replace it. So
Okay.
that takes a long time. Zero filter is the best pour through filter, and everything else just doesn't compare to those two.
Okay.
So that's where you get clean water.
Okay.
So that's one aspect.
Okay.
Another one is malnutrition.
Okay.
Malnutrition is huge in the elderly. People don't retain their appetite, they don't eat as much. When we say an average size male is going to need 2,200, 2,400 calories a day if they're sedentary to keep themselves going.
Mm-hmm.
A woman's going to be a little bit less than that, not a huge amount. If you get too little of an intake of calories and a good balanced diet, then so 1,200 calories is considered a clinical fast
Mm-hmm.
state.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you're taking 1,200 or less calories a day, and some people it's a little higher than this, your body turns into a different way of making energy. Our primary energy source is glucose,
Mm-hmm.
and we store that as a starch called glycogen in our muscles, and we got like 15, 17 minutes of energy in our muscles. We got more stored in the liver, and then you start to tap into these other sources. If you get below 1,200 calories for 2.5 or 3 days, the body switches into ketosis.
Mm-hmm.
And ketosis It's primarily burning fat, but it only works at a maximum of 75% efficiency. So you start not eating enough calories or enough nutrients for a long period of time, your brain has a hardest time to shift into that ketosis state, and it's working at maximum 75% efficiency. The
Mhm.
longer you keep that calorie deficit up, the worse that conversion is. And we don't know how low it goes, but you can tell a lot of people, and I work with a lot of elderly people. Diet is a huge thing. The number one nutrient deficiency in the pregnant women, nursing women, infants, and the elderly is folacin in the active form. So that's your 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate form, and that's the only form that really works. So malnutrition is a huge part of what's going on with this also. We also look at inflammatory responses. Inflammation, it is like sticking a hot knife on a cube of butter that's sitting on your table to the myelin inside of your nervous system.
Mm.
It melts it very, very quickly. And when you start to melt that myelin, you start to get all this short circuiting between all those tracks. And when you start to short circuit, that's when you start to lose function. Memory is one of those huge functions.
What?
One of the,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to say. So, what would you say are the main causes of inflammation for the brain?
That's what the next step I was going to.
Okay.
So you're reading my mind.
Yeah.
The primary thing that causes inflammation is toxicity.
Okay.
Now, if we look at some of the most destructive toxicity, it's been quite a long time they believe that Alzheimer's is diabetes of the brain. Diabetes is when the blood sugars aren't regulating very well. So when the blood sugars get really high, they become very toxic and they create this hyper-inflammatory fire everywhere that will destroy the cell walls of your capillaries, the blood supply in the finer places. And once that starts to happen, you don't get any nutrients, you don't get any oxygen, you don't get anything of any exchange, no excretion of the toxins out of cells and all that. That's what diabetic neuropathy, that's how it works. The sugar levels are too high. It creates these destructions of the capillary beds along with this hyper inflammatory, fire like inflammatory issues in all the tissues. And the nerves are one of the most sensitive to that. So that's letting us know that's one of the biggest mechanisms. The primary source of toxicity in the body comes out of the gut.
Hmm.
And that's why half of our immune system's in the gut, and we got 3 of our detox organs in the gut. It's the small intestinal wall, the colon wall, the microbial coating inside the gut called the flora.
Hmm.
And that does 3/4 of our detoxification. What it doesn't catch, all the blood supply from the gut goes straight to liver. Liver is supposed to catch what that is, do what it can, and dump all the refuse back into the gut so we can excrete it. When there's too much of a toxic load, the liver can't catch it all. Then it goes systemically, and these toxins go everywhere in the body. They try and get out of the skin and the lungs, and that's what causes rashes, asthma. And those toxins, they store mostly in the fat. So the biggest pool of fat we have is in the brain, in the nervous system. Those
Ah,
toxins start going in there and they
yeah.
start this inflammatory fire and it starts destroying anything. We add on top of that um, these anti-cholesterol medicines that go on. And you see people that are on those for a long period of time. Those pull all of those fats, all that myelin out of the brain, and you start shrinking the volume of that brain. I've seen pictures of dissected brains where they're a third to a half the size
Wow.
smaller than what
Wow.
they should be just from your statins.
Wow. Yeah, that's so bad. Dr. Brad, before we go on, because we're already up against the clock here, I want to let our audience know that they can go to your website, and we'll put this in the show description so they'll get it. But it's hello dot healthfully letter u.com, and there they can get your ebook, which I've look at it. It's really informative. It's called Free Healing Lifestyle Ebook. It's about changing your destiny with simple epigenetic lifestyle changes. And so I talk about that, how epigenetics is the study of how our 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 environments, both internal and external, can actually affect and alter our gene expression. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, epigenetics, when we look at that, every gene that we have in every cell has 30,000 different potential ways it can express itself. Epigenetics is the study of what we do with our lifestyle to change that. Everything affects that. Our relationships, our belief system, our nutrition, the water we drink, everything in life affects that. And the book, Healing Lifestyle, it talks about simple, basic things you can do to change your epigenetic expression. It doesn't change your gene pool, but it doesn't need to. It needs to change the expression of that gene pool, and that can completely change your destiny. In that, it talks about how to deal with your water, what toxins are, what you need to do with your gut to start healing up your gut, different issues about diet. It's this wealth of information that costs nothing other than just putting your email in there, and it
Yeah.
downloads it. And on the well, on the page that comes up that instantly gets emailed to you, you have every link of everything we got. I got on my own podcast. It's called your health reclaimed. It gives you a link to that, gives you a link to our website, gives you a link to my book, which is Exposing Lyme and Chronic Illness. It deals with all of these factors in very practical, simple language, but profound information that they don't even teach in your Ivy League schools.
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend. You're going to get a wealth of information and what you need to do right away, and it's all free. So yeah, be sure and do that. Well, Dr. Brad, we just got about 3 minutes, maybe not even 3 minutes left to go. I want to just maybe kind of summarize. So some what people can do right now to begin to realize how they need to protect their brain is, first of all, not play football, right? That's not a really good thing, right? To get
Not good at all.
your
Rugby's worse.
yeah, you have to rattle your cage. So try not to have any head injuries, and then make sure you stay hydrated, and then make sure you're getting a good, a nutrient dense diet. So express on that just a little bit.
Yeah, the water, the highest quality, highest energy water is steam distilled. It's
Okay.
absolutely the best.
Yeah.
And for people who can do that, you get a steam distiller. The Aquasana whole house filter and the zero pour through filter are the best ways to do that in a filtration system. It's really good to shower, wash your vegetables and all that in
Yeah.
clean water. So the Aquasana is really, really up there. The diet, every culture that has good longevity, like all the blue zones that live commonly up to 120, their diets are 50% vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just can't get around that. So
I'm sure
that is really
they're organic too, probably, right? Organic. Yeah. Yeah.
pretty much are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are two of the biggest things that you can do.
And so what would you say for people who, because you can work with people virtual as well, right? So people need to get, if they're already having a lot of early dementia, they can contact you. Can you work with people virtually?
Most of the people we work with virtually, and
Okay.
we've for 40 years we've shared patients with the most prestigious clinics in the world. In every single case, we beat them in diagnostics, care, and resolution of every single case for 40 years. And you can't hear many. I don't know if there's any other natural docs can honestly say that.
Yeah, that's so good. So for someone who's already okay, we know you need to start drinking more water, Don't get brain injuries if you can. Eat, get a healthy diet. But if you start to lose your memory, short-term memory, what would you say? What else could you do right away to start to improve your short-term memory?
Super high quality fish oil is absolutely
Okay.
mandatory as far as that goes. We
Okay.
test a ton of supplements out there. Right now, I only know of two fish oils that have any value whatsoever. 75% of the fish oil on the shelf is rancid before you buy it. If it's
Yeah.
not in the refrigerator, it's junk. If you can get it in a health food store, it's junk. You've got to get it from professional supply. And I've got
Okay.
links to that in my website.
That's perfect. Dr. Brad, it's such great information, and I wish we had more time. Thank you so much for being here. And I really encourage everybody to go to your website and get that free healing book. So if you like today's episode, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show. And as Einstein always, my favorite Einstein saying, we always give you a lot of good information and knowledge, but knowledge without action is useless. So you got to step up and take action.